There's a moment, a silent split-second decision you make when someone calls you out, accuses you, questions your worth, your character, your intent. And in that moment, the average person does what they were trained to do. They defend themselves. I didn't mean it. That's not what I was trying to say. You misunderstood me. I swear I'm not like that. It sounds noble, reasonable, fair. But to Markawelli, it's the moment you lose everything. Because the second you defend yourself, you admit you're weak enough to need to. And in power games, perception is everything. If they see you flinch, they don't see a victim. They see blood. This is the brutal law Markawelli understood before anyone else. The man who defends himself lowers himself. The man who doesn't forces the world to defend him instead. Let's get one thing straight. Defending yourself rarely convinces anyone. What it does is shift the power away from you. Because when you justify your actions, you're playing on their field. You're accepting their framing. You're saying without realizing it, you have the authority to question me. And once they have that, they own the narrative. Even if you're right, you still look guilty. Because only the weak rush to explain. The strong, they let the silence burn. They let the accusation float, untouched. Because they know the real move is this. Turn the accusation into a mirror. Make them doubt themselves. Make them look too emotional. Make them look obsessed, bitter, unstable. Because the one who speaks first often loses control of the frame. And Markawelli knew. Whoever controls the frame controls the outcome. Most people defend themselves because they want to be understood. They believe if they just explain enough, clarify enough, repeat themselves enough, they'll be vindicated. But that belief comes from a place of emotional weakness, not strategy. You don't want clarity, you want control. Clarity is for therapy. Control is for power. And power doesn't come from being understood. It comes from being feared, respected, and untouchable. So when someone calls you arrogant, cold, selfish, manipulative, and you immediately say, "No, you don't understand," you've already lost. Because now you're reacting. Now you're proving you care. Now you've put the ball in their court. And when you do that, you give up the most Machiavellian thing you have. Mystery. Think of the most powerful people you've ever encountered. Not the loudest, not the most liked. The ones who held silence like a weapon. The ones who made you second-guess yourself just by staring. The ones who, when attacked, never flinched. Markawelli would tell you this. He who explains, submits. He who remains silent forces others to fill in the blanks, and they often overestimate him. That's the game. When you don't react, they get uncomfortable. They start doubting their own words. They look around for validation and find none. Suddenly, their power shrinks while yours expands. Because you've done the one thing no emotional person can handle, you made them talk to themselves. And that's how you flip the power. You let their accusation die in the echo of its own weakness. Let's go deeper. You walk into a room. Someone throws shade, subtle or direct. Maybe a jab at your success, your attitude, your past. Everyone turns to see what you'll say. And here's your move. Say nothing. No defense. No retaliation. No smirk. Just calm, total stillness. In that moment, you are untouchable. Because everyone in the room is now forced to ask, why didn't he react? Does he know something we don't? Is he above this? Did that attack just make him stronger? You just flipped the entire social frame. Because people aren't watching the accusation, they're watching your response. And silence, when delivered with presence, speaks louder than any justification ever could. Markawelli knew this. He didn't just study politics, he studied psychology. And he understood one thing better than anyone. Power isn't what you say. It's what people believe you could say, but choose not to. Now, here's the coldest move of all. Sometimes you don't just ignore the accusation, you invert it. Someone calls you manipulative, Smile, look past them, and say, if that's how you see it. Not defensive, not apologetic, just cool, neutral detachment. What happens? They scramble, because they were hoping for a fight. They were hoping to watch you squirm. Instead, they're left holding their own weapon. That's when the guilt sets in on their side. They start wondering if they overstepped, if they embarrassed themselves, if they look insecure now. Guess what? They do. You just took the energy they threw at you and made them carry it without lifting a finger. There's a moment when silence becomes unbearable. Not for you, but for the one who expected a reaction. That's when the tables turn. They thought they were the accuser. Now they're exposed as the one begging for attention. And you just became something far more powerful than innocent. You became untouchable. Machiavelli understood something that most people will never grasp. Words are not to clarify truth, but to obscure it. And when someone attacks you, subtly or directly, they want you to fight the fog. They want to drown you in emotional explanation, because the more you explain, the less certain you appear. So instead, let them fill the silence. And what happens? They overplay. They repeat themselves. They start looking desperate, emotional, unstable. You said nothing, but now they're the one under judgment. Because the crowd isn't listening to what's being said. They're watching who's calm and who's rattled. That's social power. And it doesn't come from being right. It comes from being untouchable. Let's say you're in a business meeting. Someone subtly undermines you, says, I'm not sure that strategy is really thought through, or he always has these bold ideas. They're looking for a reaction. They want you to bite. What do most people do? They lean forward, they explain, they prove, they clarify, they get nervous. The room smells it. But the Machiavellian operator, he leans back, he waits, maybe even smirks. And if he speaks, it's not a defense, it's a redirect. Let's hear your strategy then. Now the attacker has to perform, and the room flips. Suddenly they are being evaluated. They are under pressure, because silence from the confident is accusation without words. It makes people feel small without you doing anything. In romantic or personal relationships, this is even more dangerous. Say your partner says, you don't care about me anymore. The average person will panic. They'll launch into explanations, reassurances, defenses. And in doing so, they validate the emotional frame. But the Machiavellian approach is different. You don't dismiss them. You don't argue. You let the weight of the accusation hang. You watch them feel their own drama echo in the space. Then, with calm, you respond. That's not how I see it. Short, grounded, no explanation, no justification. Now they feel uncertain. They question their own tone. They wonder if they were too reactive. Because in that moment, you held power over what matters most, the emotional tempo. And whoever controls the tempo controls the frame. There's a deeper tactic, and it's even colder. Don't just remain calm when accused. Disappear. Someone insults you? Don't reply. Don't respond. Don't acknowledge. But don't block them either. Let your absence sit like a mirror. Let them sit in the silence of being ignored. This breaks people in two ways. They realize you didn't even deem them worthy of a response. They start spinning internal narratives, and most of the time it destroys their composure. Why? Because the average person survives on emotional validation, even in conflict. If you take that away, they wither, they spiral, they post more, they talk to others, they try to bait a reply, and with every new attempt, they look weaker, more obsessed, more unhinged, all while you remain perfectly still. That's when you win, not because you proved anything, but because they destroyed themselves trying to get a reaction from you. Here's where it gets elite. Instead of defending yourself when attacked, make their accusation look like a sign of weakness. Someone calls you arrogant, strange that confidence makes people so uncomfortable? Someone